and welcome to my channel. I'm Mandi Grace, author of 10 young adult novels so far, 8 of which I'm rewriting this year. Welcome to vlog 15 of that adventure. We are, I want to say, in the middle of rewriting book 3 in my Robin Hood series, but we're not. We literally just finished rewriting chapter 1. So, there's that. But we are over 10,000 words into the story. We're on chapter 6 in the new version, so, you know, progress has been made. So that's where we're at. I was hoping to do 50k in this book for Camp Nano. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know. We'll just keep trucking along and see how far we get. I have a prickle about to start, so I'm going to hop on that. For those of you who don't know yet, my writing group has a hedgehog theme, and a gathering of hedgies is called a prickle, so when we gather to write together, we call it a prickle. Let's do this. That was a great prickle. Wrote almost 3,000 words. Some of that was pulled over. I did pull over a few words, and I also finally used the dialogue that I was holding for the conversation when Dusty tells Joan that she's a girl. I did change the scene quite a bit, but yeah, I held on to that dialogue. So that was transferred words, kind of. But I'd say the majority of what I wrote was all new content, because we had this fight scene that's not in the original book, so that was a lot of the 3,000 words that I just wrote. And then there was a few words of that dialogue. So, it's been a productive day. I kind of want to write again. There's another prickle in a while. I don't know, I might do a lot of writing and just get ahead because we're only at 15,000 words. My guesstimate for this book is that it will be around 130, 150,000 words by the time I'm done. So, we have a ways to go, and I'd like to get as far as I can in April. So, that's the plan. If you hear small noises, there are 2 babies just hanging out behind the camera. We are, oh hey, hi, how's it going? We are behind on Nano for the 50,000 word count that I wanted to get in April. We're supposed to be on 18,000 words today. I probably will get on the other 2 prickles so that I can get my 15 up to 18 today, so that we're at least on track for hitting 50,000 by the end of April, which will be about, roughly guessing, a third of the book. Transferring chapter 1 into the new document, it became 6 solid chapters that still have room to grow when I go back for editing. So it's possible this book will be absolutely massive compared to the original one, rather than just doubled in size. But I don't know. I don't think every chapter is going to do that, but chapter 1 definitely did. And so far in chapter 2, I've done that dialogue that I held from chapter 1, which is basically chapter 1 dialogue, not chapter 2. I had a couple of lines of like, we were traveling to wherever, which is from the very beginning of chapter 2, and then I had a brand new scene that wasn't in the other book. So basically, starting chapter 2 today, I didn't really transfer anything from chapter 2, which makes it seem like chapter 2 will also do what chapter 1 did. Though probably not as much, but like, yep. I glossed over basically all of the crusading that happened to Dusty prior to meeting Robin Hood. I definitely do some of the crusading stuff when she's with Robin Hood, but that's the same stuff that's in Much's book, and Alan's book for that matter. So I think it's more interesting to get the stuff that we don't see of Dusty in the other books, because in telling her story I really need to go back to her origins and why she is the way she is, like her story specifically. Guys, this is the last of the Agent Carter tea. This is it. Fred the Hedgie has the last little bit. Now I have to do a different tea. I'm gonna get on a pickle. The vacuum is loud, so I apologize for your sound. I'm prematurely apologizing to the Zoom Hedgie sisters. This could be a problem. He was awake, so I was like, I might as well just take him to the prickle. Here, come over here. Say hi to Sam. I go to sleep and he gets on his wheel, yes. That's exactly what happens. Except today he's been awake all day and I don't understand why. What's wrong with you? Okay, just finished Prickle and added, hold that thought, word count. 2,000 words, added 2,000 words to the document. It was a pulled scene, so I added some words, but also a lot of those words were just pulled from the other document. It's the scene where Dusty gets her name. Dusty. Because her name at birth is something else entirely, and then she's called the Saracen when she starts pretending to be a boy. She also very briefly had a boy name when she was in the Saladin's army. When she was in Saladin's army, she had a name that they gave her. But then she didn't want that name anymore when she joined the Crusaders, and she just didn't know what to be called, and so they just started calling her the Saracen. But anyway, the point is, she finally got her name, which is supposed to be a big, monumental, emotional moment because that's her name going forward. Like, that's who she is, kind of defines who she is. And also, like, she views it as, like, this beautiful gift from her friends. Robin, Much, and Alan are the ones who came up with this name for her, and it's very personal to her for that reason, and it's also the first time that she decides to start letting down her walls, because even just the act of accepting the name that they're giving her felt huge to her, to be like, I'm going to let them give me this gift. Yeah, anyway, it was supposed to be a big deal. I don't know if it comes across as a big deal, but I want it to. Dusty getting her name needs to be a big deal, and I hope that it is. Okay, we've added another 2,000 words. This has been a delightful writing day. We're making up for yesterday when I didn't write at all because I was sick. That keeps happening to me on Tuesdays this month. Random fact for you. But anyway, I'm reaching the end of chapter 9. I did split. I jumped off of chapter 8, Dusty stuff. Not immediately after she got her name. I added like another small little section, I guess, and then I started chapter 9. Yeah, here we are, chapter 9, which is still the chapter 3, no, yes, chapter 3 stuff? Are we in chapter 3 right now? Yes, we are. Still the chapter 3 stuff. Currently, the Prickle ended, that I was just on, in a fight scene that goes like this in the original. Okay, so there's a bit of dialogue. It starts out like, we were rudely awakened one night by shouts coming from the guards. Anyway, there's a bit of dialogue where they discuss what's happening. There's an army coming, yada yada, okay? And then, as soon as the dialogue is over, right, and we head off to deal with the army, it goes like this. It was not a big fight, nor a long one. Within 2 hours, we were returning to our beds. That's it. So I started writing out that sentence into an actual scene, an actual fight scene. So I just got Dusty, Alan, and Robin to the city walls. We left Much to guard the king. The king didn't want to deal with things. It's the middle of the night. He was like, whatever, just go do things. So Much is left to guard him, and we are up on the city walls, and we're about to deal with, you know, the rabble that's coming. It's not a big fight, I don't think. I'm actually going to pause and research it and figure out which battle this was. In my timeline, where I have, like, every event that happens in my books written down, it just says a skirmish at Ascalon, which is the city we're in, which tells me that somewhere in my original Crusades research, I came across a skirmish at Ascalon, and then just like put it in there in one sentence in the book. And this time I'm going to make it an actual fight, but in order to do so, I feel like I need to know a little bit more about the skirmish, if there is anything. A lot of this stuff is very vague because, you know, it was the 12th century, so it's not, there's not a lot. We're gonna look that up, and then we're gonna finish writing this fight scene. The one interesting thing to me personally is that I have them interacting with a captain who is a named character in this version of the story, because he's the person who let Dusty into the Crusading army when she ran away from Saladin's army. And she served under him when she joined the Crusaders. And so all of the Crusading stuff in this book that was with Dusty before she encountered Robin Hood was with this other person. So I think it's fun that I've brought him back now a couple chapters later. You know, we spent chapters 6 through 8 with Robin Hood, and now in chapter 9 we get to say hey to this guy that we knew. Which I think is fun. I think it's fun. I also plan at some point, I don't know if I've discussed this yet on a vlog, but I plan at some point to bring back the guy in the Saracen army who trained Dusty, because after every battle she goes out to heal people, you know? They gather the wounded or whatever, and then they kill their enemies. But Dusty tries to heal both sides, because that's just who she is. And I want her to come across the guy who trained her. And I think I want him to die. Either because one of the Crusaders just comes up and kills him while she's working, or better yet, she fails to save him, and he dies. I don't know. And I don't know when that will happen specifically either, but I kind of want that to happen at some point. Then the next chapter in, not the next chapter, excuse me, the next scene in the original chapter 3 is a night when Robin can't sleep, and so he and Dusty start talking about Marion and their families and various things. And it's a good place to learn more about Robin, because if Dusty's book is the first one you pick up in the series, because they are companion novels and you can technically read them in any order that you desire to. If Dusty's is the first one, we don't really know Robin yet, and we didn't get to see his childhood love story with Marion like we do in Lucy's book or Much's book. So yeah, it's a good place to get to know Robin, that we've, you know, this guy that we've had a few scenes with now, and he gave us our name and like whatever. So I think that's good. It also is a good place for Dusty to start opening up a little bit. I feel like she cracks while on the Crusades, and then she actually comes out of the shell when she meets Will, and they have their little love story. It's a good place for a crack, I guess is what I'm saying. And then after that scene, I might finish chapter 9 with that scene. Have this battle, have the night where we like open up to each other with Robin, and then start the next chapter. Because the next chapter is when we go to Durham, which is where Dusty was born. It's where she grew up. It's where we started the story, where her family died, like all the things. And I think I want that to be a chapter of its own, and not with these other random things. Because it's going to be several pages worth of stuff. It's where she finally starts grieving for the first time, and she and Much have a long conversation in his book, which will probably be in her book as well, at least parts of it. Yeah, I don't know. So I have this fight scene to end out chapter 9. Right? Is that what I said? The fight scene, and then the opening up with Robin one random night. And then we'll start chapter 10, which will be going home for the first time. And kind of freaking out about it. And crying a lot. Yeah, that's probably all I'll get through if I keep writing today. I don't think I'll go much past Durham, because that's several chapters. In the original, oh hello, sorry, I'm scrolling through it while I'm talking to you. In the original, when she goes back to Durham, oh, I'd forgotten I did that. When she's having her conversation with everybody, there's flashbacks. Oh, I forgot about that. That's amazing. So when I originally wrote Dusty, now we're just ranting. When I originally wrote Dusty, the very first time, I started it when she was a kid. It was some scene where she was playing outside trying to build a sandcastle, and the wind, in its insolence, kept knocking it down. That specific sentence was my favorite, and then I went and showed it to my family, and I remember, I don't know if he remembers, you can tell me if you remember this, because I know you watch my videos. I went to my brother Christopher, and probably other people too. I feel like there were several people sitting around the table. We were at the dinner table, at the old house. Anyway, not relevant details, but I remember him really liking that sentence as well, and I think possibly posting it like on Twitter or something, because I remember we were having a discussion about the its, whether it had a, you know, like an apostrophe or not. We were trying to figure out the correct usage, and then he asked me, this is a random memory, but I'm telling you anyway, he asked me if it was like that was going to be in the final book or whatever before he did whatever he was doing. I don't know if he posted it or not. He was doing something on his phone. Anyway, whatever he was doing, he asked me if it was staying, and I was like, oh yes, of course, because back then revisions were not a thing that I did. But after all that excitement of my first scene, I didn't finish Dusty. Like, it didn't work. I couldn't get the story past her childhood, and it was driving me nuts. So I came back to it at a later date. I wish that I had writing vlogs from this time period. I've already looked and I don't have any, but I wish that I did. But anyway, I started Dusty a second time, and it just wasn't perfect. I think I got either all the way or most of the way through the story, and I just wasn't satisfied with it. And then I wrote it a third time, and that time is when I added Will being the one who was keeping a journal of all the things that Dusty had opened up and told him about, and like all of that stuff, which I've kind of cut out of this one, which is a little sad. But anyway, yeah, Dusty's been through a lot. She's been through a lot. But it was like 2 false starts and then actually writing the book, which is all very random. I don't know why I'm ranting about this right now. What was this about? Oh, I know what this was about. So, I really liked some of her childhood scenes, like the wind in its insolence sentence. I don't actually know if that ended up in there. I'll have to look. I'll tell you if I come across it. But anyway, the point is, I liked some of her childhood scenes that didn't end up in the third, you know, time. The third one that I actually wrote the story. They weren't there. So what I did is when she came to Durham and was like bombarded with all these memories of her past, which she now had to face and grieve and whatever, I did flashbacks to all those scenes that were in the first time I tried to write the story. I know there's some more flashbacks later when she talks to Will, because she really opens up to him, and like he gets all of the information. No one else does. She opens up a little bit too much, and Robin, kind of Alan, but not really Alan. But yeah, Will is the only person that she actually tells her story to. And I said, oh, sorry, in the middle of my ranting, I just remembered something else. On the end of the Vlog 14 Part 2 video, I was talking about the editor lady who read Dusty. Dusty had the most interesting, I think, experience of all of my books, because I feel like I just wrote most of them and moved on, except for the story of Gisborne, which I saved for last, but most of them I just wrote and moved on. And Dusty, I like tried to write and then wrote most of and sent it to this editor lady and then actually wrote the book. It was very complicated. Anyway, I'm ranting again. The point is, I discussed this editor lady in Vlog 14, and I didn't actually go looking for that document to see if I had it. So I should do that now, just for funsies. Okay, this is, this is the first chapter. Did I tell you? Yes, in the other vlog, I did tell you, not in this vlog. Let me recap. So I sent the second version, because I tried to write it and then failed and then restarted it. So I sent the second start of Dusty to this editor person, and they wrote back to me saying you could do a lot more with this chapter, like make scenes here. And at the time I was like, what is wrong with you? And nowadays I took chapter 1 and made 6 chapters, so I definitely see what she meant. But point being, I'm pretty sure that first chapter revisions is the revisions that I sent to her to be like, is this what you meant? And she was like, yeah, but more? Feeling suspense and fear. Man, this actually might be really interesting to go over while I'm rewriting right now. Okay. Describe for the reader what this feels like. It looks like my biggest problem. Appreciate the sense of urgency, but since we don't really know this character, it comes across as forced or trite. If we had first seen her reading her Bible every morning or taking care of the sick and homeless, then this would be believable. I do want Dusty's faith to be believable. Solid question. Maybe a less technical term. That's funny. So I have a sentence where I say, I transferred the small girl into his arms. And she commented on transfer and said, maybe a less technical term. I feel like, I'm looking specifically, there was a comment where she said you could make more of this scene. And then I remember a comment where she said something about the Crusades and I was being insensitive or something. This seems to answer all of the questions only moments after she asks them, what is the driving force of this novel? What is the main character after? Those are great questions. I probably didn't know the answer right then. The driving force of the novel is that Dusty is learning to open up and be vulnerable again, and that allowing people to see who she truly is a good thing. She really has to get past her grief, though. Everybody died! I can't love anymore. Anyway, tense shift. She just up and left trying to save her family. She needs to flip from one thing to another. Praying, comforting, trying to hide, saving family, and finally running off to join an army. I think the plot progression itself could be an entire chapter or more. There it is. There it is. Yes. Yes. And I took all of that into 6 chapters. I feel good about this. I feel good about this. This is fascinating, reading these. Okay, there are some parts that still need some tweaking to help the readers connect with characters and to help them make the jump in thought that you need them to make. The tense shift still seems to happen sporadically. Yes. Well, I was writing in first person present, which was a terrible idea. Oh. Oh. That is a completely different prologue. They're inside and it's snowing and... What the... Nightingale. Oh, good lord. Okay, that was really distracting. I did not remember that at all. Dusty, take 3. I like how I named them that. Take 1, take 2, and take 3. Is it... Oh, is it this one? There's 32 comments. Is it this one? Or is this the one I sent to my sister? It says beta reader copy. I don't know who I thought my beta reader was. Let's see. Where's the first comment? Wait! Oh, I found it, you guys! I found it! I sent her the whole manuscript. I'm not crazy. Ta-da! Well, that's a blank page. I love this note. Readers of the story should take note that some of the dates of historical events have been moved slightly to fit the purpose of my story. This is not an historical record and is not fully accurate. Oh, I remember this comment. Okay, so Lucy's an old person telling the story to young people, right? And there's one scene where she leans forwards and like rests her elbows on her knees and her chin in her hands. And I remember this comment. This lady was like, I'm not sure why, but this seems like an action that someone young would do. So, yeah, that has been running around in my head since the day that this happened in 2016, apparently. And every time I'm describing old Lucy, I think of this comment and try to find a different way to have a description that fits her age. Random tidbit for you. Would this be a moment where I would need to have read the prequel to understand? It's a sentence that says, she told me a little, she told Will more. You would understand that comment if you had read them in order rather than picking up Dusty's first, but I personally think it's fine as it is. Like, if you don't know what she's talking about, that's fine. It's just a bit of foreshadowing. I'm just name-dropping a character for future. I don't see anything wrong with that sentence. I feel like you tell your readers everything instead of showing them facts. This is how I feel about reading these books now. Anyway, that's my phone. Hold on. Take your imagery and let it speak for itself. For instance, you make a point to try and create a scene in which soldiers are careless with human life. Expand on their actions. Show them how there's no reason for their actions, and then the reader will be able to surmise for themselves that there's no logic in the soldier's behavior. Okay, here's the comment that I was looking for. For non-Christians, and even Christians, this reference, I would argue, doesn't hold much weight by itself. The sentence being, I am a descendant of Christian soldiers who fought in the Second Crusade. I would suggest thinking about the repercussions culturally and ethnically speaking about making the soldiers from the Second Crusade out to be heroes. I am not saying that they are or aren't, I just mean to point out that some people may view the Crusades as an act of coercion of beliefs and lifestyle instead of an heroic event. That is precisely what I've been trying to do this time around. So there you go. Why would the moment that Dusty tells Joan and Berengaria who she is, the moment she meets them, this editor was like, why would she reveal such a crucial secret to two women she just met? Yeah, I think it's funny that I left that in the original version and I changed it this time around. Anyway, I think that's it. I think she just, yeah, that's the end. She just went through chapter 1 and left the other 200 pages and did nothing with them. And then I sent her a revised chapter 1 and she made more comments and then she was like, this really isn't my cup of tea, go find someone else. So anyway, that was my experience. That was entertaining to look back through. I found that entertaining. So there you go. I've just like added 5 minutes to this vlog that really don't need to be here, but we're keeping them.